Hey, what's going on, good people? So today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people probably don't know nothing about, and it's called misandry. Yes, misandry. So we're going to get into it. Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your boy James Harris, founder of a movement called Mental Heal, which focuses on men's overall wellness, their mental health as well as their physical health. And yes, the shirts, the hats, the everything is pretty much on sale. So if you want one, inbox me. And I'm also the author of a book called Man Just Express Yourself, which is an interactive planner guide for boys and men to better express themselves. Appreciate all the partners out there who got this book for the men in your life. Appreciate all my parents who got this book for their young ones. It's definitely a great summer activity for their young male. And of course, my colleagues, my therapists, my fellow mental health professionals, I appreciate you having this book in your lobby or using interventions in your sessions. I definitely appreciate it. You can get that book on my website, www.mentoheal.com, mentoheal.com, or Barnes& Nobles, Amazon, Target, pretty much everywhere books are sold. Make sure you go and like, share, subscribe to my channel, and submit me a question too if you have a question. If it's something specifically you want me to address, a topic, then I'll definitely do that. So today, again, we're talking about misandry. And a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot because it's not really talked about within society. So I'm gonna bring you this information. So have you ever noticed like more and more microaggressions towards different men, whether it's in movies or the media or in the communities overall? So misandry pretty much means a hatred towards men. And so to put it in context, it corresponds to misogyny, which, like a hatred towards women. So you often hear about misogyny in some cases, but not too many people heard about misandry, right? So misandry by no means is restricted to only women. Some men definitely display a lot of male negative tactics out there. Whether that's the older generation looking down at the men now for how they dress or how they display certain characteristics, or just that dad that's telling his son he's soft or whatever. Like all of those things definitely add up and plays into the notion of masculinity. So again, prejudice against boys, men in general, are often associated with suffering, different males being mocked or minimized, dismissed, whether they're talking about their feelings or not really celebrated in a way to where they feel welcomed. And of course, based on reality, misogyny generates a lot of the misandry that's out there, to be honest with you. So we definitely have to acknowledge that misandry is partly reality based on the degree that, and part of the reaction to a lot of the misogynistic views is pretty much a real perception of the oppression of both men and women. So we definitely have to acknowledge that fact. The fact that some people hold misandry views may not prevent them from having positive relationship with some males. Like you can have a husband that you love dearly, but still thinks he's soft or too emotional or whatever the case is. Like those things are detrimental. Or you can be a coworker to this person and still feel like his mannerisms are whatever the case they are. So those things are you displaying misandry. So from a personal standpoint, like some misandry is likely grounded to personal beliefs, just like misogyny. It can be from a bitter experience that you had from a male who probably cheated on you, or how you viewed your father. Like those things are personal to you, which in terms how you react to other males, based on that notion of like not even you're hating consciously, but subconsciously, these things are affected how we react to each other. It also is not clear whether misandry is grounded in more historical understanding or personal experience through like gender politics. But certainly misandry is a deep-rooted within our culture, I would say. I would definitely argue with anybody that misandry is part of a bigger system. And when I said not too long ago about the political gender politics, meaning boys are supposed to wear certain things, of course women are supposed to wear certain things, or you can't have pink if you're a boy. Like all of those things are politicking how somebody else moves. So different examples of misandry that you probably heard that you probably didn't know were actual views of misandry. So the absence of male-friendly services and strategies. In some places, it's like women dominant and men, aren't really seen in those environments. A big one for me that I've personally been affected by is the treatment of dads in family courts. In so many cases, like it's so many opportunities for women to get a different standard than how this man is being represented, how he's being presented with options. There's so many different examples within the family court system, whether it's child support, whether it's visitation, like all of those things are rooted based on misandry, because they favor the women. Another one, male victims of domestic violence. Like when an officer arrives on the scene, oftentimes the male is arrested or at least detained regardless before they even got the stories out. The woman could have been the aggressor. She could have had less bruises. My man could have been scratched up, bleeding, all that. But, he is the one who is seen as the target to be arrested or at least placed in cuffs and detained. Saying things like men only want one thing, that's a misandry view. Another one that I had to deal with, like I have daughters, so when my daughter was younger, taking her to the bathroom was like tough because there was no changing areas in the male restrooms. And if I wasn't in a setting to where they had the family restrooms, then I was just stuck. Like I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to take her in here? She going to start with me and just turn around? Like it just was a lot. So those are that system that we're talking about in which misandry happens that people probably don't even pay attention to. So a lot of people generally neglect male issues. And to be honest with you, that neglect has caused a lot of males to become depressed because over 600 million men or maybe 6 million men within America alone suffer from depression. And a lot of people don't talk about it because it looks different than how a woman displays her depression symptoms. I mean, the basic ones, of course, lack of eating, lack of sleeping, loss of interest and pleasure. But of course, with men, you got the irritability, you got the aggression, you got other symptoms that you have to identify before they even know or before one can even say, oh, he's depressed. Because it's so frowned upon within our society because he'll be deemed as weak or soft or, too emotional or depression is a woman diagnosis. It's just so many different views of misandry that a lot of people, again, doesn't consciously be aware of. So men have much higher percentage of suicide than women. In so many different cases. And of course, they use more violent means as well. Men constitute approximately 80% of suicides from, I think, the early 2000s until present. Men make up approximately 90% of the prison population rate within the United States. And of course, we can talk about a specific demographic who make up even more of those numbers. Another example of misandry that is often neglected is, of course, the majority of alcoholics, drug addicts, and homeless population are men in most cases. Men have lower levels of university attendance. They do increasingly worse in high school, middle schools than women, and in most cases, they're more diagnosed with opposition defiance, ADHD, mood disorders and things like that because the primary teachers in most cases are women and they don't have the not to point finger at the women, but the teachers in most cases don't have the necessarily tools that they have to have a successful learning environment. So it's easier for them to get this male out of the class or disregard this male or send them to the office or whatever the case is. So now this male is about to be a part of the system, school to prison pipeline, or diagnosed with one of those diagnoses that I said, opposed to giving him the attention that he needs. Men on average have lower life expectancies than women do, and that can be from the standpoint of men doing different things, or it can just be from the historical standpoint of men not taking care of themselves. So that's an argument in itself as well. But I just wanted to educate you on what misandry is. So again, misandry is similar to misogyny to men and women, or how society view women. So something else I want you to think about is black misandry, which is a hatred towards black men. So that can be a lesson in itself. You probably encountered it as yourself. I myself, as a black man, I've encountered several times within my life to where I was, viewed differently by the dominant group within society, or, just profiled, or just had issues presented because I'm a black male with tattoos and use urban vernacular. Not because to the outside world, the view is I'm not educated, I'm not well spoken, I'm not, so many different things, but they don't know me personally. They don't know that I'm an active father, I'm a multi-business owner, I'm, master's degree, some doctoral classes, or whatever the case is. They'll go by what they view. So black misandry is a thing too, the hatred towards black men. So like, share, subscribe, drop me your questions. Have you ever heard of misandry? Or you were just under the impression that misogynistic views were only a thing? So appreciate you. Catch me next one.